Good morning. It is Tuesday morning, and this is definitely a transformation. Today, what we're going to talk about could be the one thing that changed the lives of millions of people around the world. So please stay to the end, because what are we going to talk about? Six truths to free you from addiction. So why am I talking about this today? Because the presence and incidence of addiction in the world is growing every day. And it's plagued the lives of tens of millions, if not hundreds of millions of people around the world. 23.5 million people over the age of 12 today are addicted to alcohol and or drugs. So after working with people with addictions, knowing people with addictions, studying human behavior for 23 years, and really learning why people do the things they do, how to take them through breakthroughs. Not only that, but to be able to have the healed system, you're more powerful, and be able to take people that have been addicted and to help them be free of addiction. That I believe addiction is probably one of the most misunderstood dilemmas and paradigms, not only misunderstood by the general public, but more importantly, misunderstood by the people who call themselves addicts. Now, I believe this is really important to find out, hey, this is about who we truly are, who we're created to be, and 6 truths that can free you from addiction. And at the end, I'm going to show you a powerful program. And please stay all the way through this. It might be a little bit long, but regardless if you think you're an addict or not, these truths will change your life and empower you into a greater life of who you really are. So what's truth number 1? The bottom line foundation. Truth number 1, you're not a human seeking spiritual experiences. You're a spirit seeking human experiences. Why is this so important? Because if you think you're human and you are your body, then you're going to be subject to your body's emotional needs, your mind's emotional needs, and your body's physiology. But when you believe you're spirit first, then you believe you came into this body. This body is not who you are. This body is a vehicle. And before you came into the body, you picked the things that you're going to go through. So do you think as a spirit coming from heaven or coming from the spirit world into this body, you said, Mom and Dad, please learn how to love yourself, because I don't want to feel abandoned and unloved when you get a divorce or when you yell at me or when you guys fight. So get that together before I come in. Or did you say, Dad, I know you were abused by your parents, but can you please get over that so you don't physically or sexually abuse me or your uncle or whoever? Did you come in and when you're in heaven before you came to this body, you said, can we just have one religion, please? Let's eliminate the religious wars. Let's get rid of the shame and the guilt and the sin so, I can feel better about myself and I don't have to, go through the trauma of religion. Did you say, can I just make a ton of money because I don't really want to work that hard and, I deserve it and I want to get things when I want them and I want to get what I want when I want it. And by the way, this is my mother. By the way, Mom, she would go, don't you know money doesn't grow on trees? And being a smart ass, I would say, well, actually it does because it's paper and paper comes from trees, Mom. But growing up with all these belief systems and insecurity of your parents, did you say that, or did you come in knowing that you were going to go through something, through some pain? And this is truth number 2. You came in to have these human experiences, no matter how painful you are, because here's the truth. Our soul, our spirit comes into this body for the evolution of our spirit through human experiences. We come in for these human experiences. And when that's a truth to you, here's the secret. Here's the truth. Your spirit doesn't care about pain. Now, have you noticed we tend to evolve more from pain than we do from pleasure? This is all about the evolution of your soul. And it comes in for these experiences. And when you believe that, then you realize there's a purpose for everything that happened in your life that's leading you to your soul purpose. Now, the problem is when you don't have this belief system, then the problem starts when you become your experiences, meaning you identify with the experiences. And when you go through pain and that pain becomes your identity because you believe I am who I am because of what I went through, and you identify with pain, then you become your pain. And that's where the identity problem starts with. So what do? I don't want to live with that pain. You don't want to live with that pain. So what do? You will do anything to seek relief from the pain. You will do anything to forget the pain. You will do anything to quiet your incessant mind that's continually processing those emotions. You will do anything you can to stop it. So what do? You choose a vehicle. Why? Because drugs, alcohol, whatever it is, shopping, sex, online stuff, pornography, what it's do? It brings you into presence. In other words, when you're drunk or you're drinking, hey, I'm just partying, I'm having a good time, what do? You forget about your pain. When you're drunk or you pass out or you do a line or whatever it is, or whatever you're doing, you forget about your pain. It brings you into presence. It brings you into this now moment, which means what? Your past isn't in your present. You're not stressed about the future, because here's truth number 3. Every spiritual being seeks to know ourselves, and we seek that presence. We seek presence to quiet the emotional noise in our mind. Every spiritual being seeks consciousness of our higher self. Now, the problem is when we have an outside-in vehicle, then it becomes predictable. Hey, I can drink. Presence is in that bottle. Now, you don't think that, but when you reach for the bottle, you reach for the line, or you go online, or whatever it is you're doing, it becomes so certain that that can bring you into presence that anytime you want to escape to pain, it satisfies the human need for certainty. And then what else do? Now you have a neuroemotional association with that bottle, that bottle represents peace. Now, it doesn't make any logical sense, but there's my peace in that bottle. There's my peace in that line. There's my peace in whatever you're using. And that's not P-I-E-C-E, that's P-E-A-C-E, because we seek that inner peace. Now we created a neuroemotional association that when I want to escape my pain, here's the vehicle that I use. Now, what's truth number 4? Drugs and alcohol are a poison. They're a poison. So people say, well, I have an allergy to alcohol. Well, it is a poison, and it does create physiologic addiction, not only neuro-emotional addiction, but physiological addiction. Alcohol is sugar. Okay, that's no different than someone that eats a lot of candy. That's no different than caffeine. There are physical substances we can put in our body, like stimulants, right? Like cocaine, like crystal meth, like amphetamines, like opioid drugs, like coffee. How many people, they go see them at Starbucks, well, I drink 4 ventis a day. What's the difference? If you had 4 big cocktails a day and then you drive, if you do it with coffee, hey, you may get a speeding ticket, you may have road rage, but you do it with alcohol, you're going to jail. You do it twice, you get a DOI, you're an alcoholic. But you're drinking something that's physiologically addictive because it throws you on sugar spikes, and now you become addicted just the way you become addicted to coffee, just the way you become addicted to sugar. And so my son, when he became a teenager, he was raised on sugar before I got him. And then we tried to change his diet. But when he became a teenager, I Googled. Now, he was raised, his mother was one of 5 children. 3 of them were alcohol and drug addicts. So I told him, Chase, here's the research. You're physiologically addicting yourself to sugar. So when you get older, your body is going to crave alcohol. So people think I'm an alcoholic, but you've trained your body to crave it. You've trained your body to crave amphetamines. You trained your body. And so some people say, well, I'm allergic to it. Well, it is a poison. My sister is allergic to shellfish. So what does she do? She doesn't eat shellfish. Some people are allergic to peanuts. So what do? They don't serve peanuts on flights anymore. So certain physiologies are susceptible to these things. Does that mean you're a peanutaholic? Does that mean you're a shellfishaholic? Does that mean if you're allergic to a plant, you're a plantaholic? No, it means your physiology is sensitive to things that your body sees as poison. Alcohol and drugs are a poison. So if you're allergic to it, then you can make the choice not to drink it, just the way people avoid peanuts. My sister avoids shellfish. You do have a physical body. That physical body is susceptible to different chemicals. Okay, so if you believe your spirit first, that you don't adopt the belief, you realize my physiology doesn't like alcohol, so I'm not going to drink it. Now, some people say, well, I wish it was that easy. Well, when you're addicted, you can be that easy, and we're going to talk about that again. So the thing is, we don't adopt the beliefs. There's something wrong with me. And that's what an addict believes. There's something wrong with me. And that's not it. There's nothing wrong with you. The only thing that is an inaccurate and an illusion is your perspective, which leads to the fifth truth, and that is you have the power to change your life in a moment. Now, it could take 10 or 20 years for you to reach that moment, but you have a mind. God gave you a mind and the power that when you decide, when you make a must decision, you can decide like this. I remember years ago I saw a documentary, and it was interviewing all these drug addicts, alcoholics, where families do an intervention. Well, I've been through rehab 3 and 4 times. It's like $30,000 a time. And nope, nothing worked. And then they decided one day I'm going to quit. And they did it without going to rehab. They did it without going to 12 steps. They just made up their mind. You have the power to make a decision and change your life right now. Now, when I was in college, everybody's perception of what their pain is. I went through things in my childhood that, I was hiding from my own pain. So when I started working in a bar at 19, I was this innocent little kid. Man, it's all about cocaine. So what did I do? I started doing cocaine, and then I'm a college student. I couldn't afford it. So I started doing crystal methadone. So I did methadone every day until one day I woke up in the morning. I was running around, closing the drapes. The story is in the book. You're more powerful than you think. And then I realized, oh my God, I'm physiologically addicted to methamphetamine. And so I sat there in a moment of presence, and I said, wait a minute, I'm going to be a chiropractor. I'm going to teach people how to heal. I want to be the best doctor that I can possibly be. I prayed right there in present time. I made up my mind. I will never touch that again. I didn't have one withdrawal. I didn't even notice. I just said, boom, I'm done. My mind overcame my body. I didn't have any withdrawals, which I was physiologically addicted. I didn't have any cravings. I made up my mind because that was the power of God. I reached out to God and I said, heal me now. And I made the decision, I'm done. Now, every person with a disease has had a spontaneous healing. And if you haven't done that, it's okay. You don't have to do that. You may have that experience or may not. But if you've tried and tried and tried, you just haven't decided. Because why did that decision happen? Because my purpose became bigger than my self-esteem problems. That was it. One thing, purpose and understanding why you are here is the number one power that you have in being connected to God. You can change your life in a moment. So now what I want to do, let's go through 12 steps. So I'm going to go through this because I believe the 12-step program is missing the 13th step. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the healed process, and you are more powerful, and show you how to shorten that time and get a life-changing result. So the first 3 steps, healed, H begins with honor God within yourself. So let's look at 1. The first 3 steps are dealing with H. So what's number 1 and 12 step? Admit you are powerless over alcohol. Well, why do they do this? Because if you admit you're powerless, you take responsibility, and then what do? You surrender. That's their intention. The reality is you are never powerless. You can't be powerless. You chose to give up your power and use something outside of you to deal with your pain because you didn't have the skill or know how to clear your pain. That's it. So they say admit you're powerless. I say you're a child of God. You are never powerless. You made a choice that got you in the situation, and now you can get yourself out. Here's the problem. Now they do that because they want you to take responsibility. So you go to AA, and when they say, hi, my name's Dave and I'm an alcoholic. Here's the real truth. The real truth is, hi, my name's Dave. I used alcohol to cope with my pain because I chose alcohol. And it had detrimental effects on my life, my relationships, my career, and how I felt about myself. That's the truth. You chose it. I used it as a vehicle. I didn't know how to cope with my pain. I screwed up my whole life, but you didn't really screw it up. You had to transition out of everything. That is a huge difference. Alcohol, drugs, whatever you think you're addicted to is what you did. It's not who you are. Now, why do they do that? Because they want to give you certainty. And what do? They replace alcohol with alcoholic. What's that mean? So rather than reaching for a bottle, rather than alcohol, if I say I'm an alcoholic, then you say no to alcohol. That's why they do that, but it is an illusion. It is not true. 2, still in H, believe there's a power greater than ourselves. So what do? Why do they do that? Because then we surrender to God. Because if we're powerless, we got to tap into a power. Now we are turning to God. Well, shouldn't we really live our lives like that? Because God is inside us. That's why H is honor God within yourself. So we didn't say, I'm powerless, God, you're greater than me, as opposed to, God, you are great, you created me, the power of you is inside me, and I have the power to make a decision and change my life at any time. That's the power. So what's step 3? Make a decision to turn your will over to God. So steps 1, 2, 3, and 12 steps are all about H. We're still in one step of H. Okay, so what's that do? It surrenders. I'm not going to do my will. I'm going to do the will of God. And that's why in our Lord's Prayer that we've said 8 million times, maybe you have, I know I have, his will be done on earth right now as it is in heaven. And this is the challenge for powerful people, is that we want to do our will. We think we know. And we go through a boatload of pain, right? And I'm learning this lesson to just surrender, follow my innate, don't push my will and make mistakes and go through pain, to follow my divinity because God is working through me and he's showing me the path. Now, step 4. This is E, establish loving yourself and others. But in step 4 and 12 step, make a moral inventory. What's that mean? Take responsibility for your actions. What's E? Establish loving yourself and others. Establish your core values. Why are so many people miserable? Because you're living outside your core values. That's it. When you gain clarity on your core values, you take responsibility. Tony Robbins, when you take responsibility, you gain the ability to respond. So we take responsibility, we establish what our core values are, we take a moral inventory. Why? So we can create a life that is consistent with our core values. And that's one of the highest levels of living, especially when you believe you're a spirit having a human experience. So now we're in step 4, but we're only in step 2 of healed. Now this is important. Let's go to step 5. Admit to God and others of your wrongs. Okay, well this starts A, forgiveness, accepting forgiveness for yourself and others. Check this out. So when you admit that you've done wrong, what are you doing? This is a responsibility step, and it's a releasing. It's releasing the pain. So what's step 6? God, remove our defects. So 5 and 6 are all about A and healed. It's all about forgiveness. The problem is when you say, God, remove our defects, the reality is you don't have any defects. You are created in the likeness and image of God. You got trapped in your humanity because you forgot to connect with your divinity. You thought that your experiences were who you are, and you took your pain on as an identity because you didn't have the spiritual lessons or the know-how or the skill to tap into your divinity. And that's it. Now here's the next thing. The more powerful you are, whatever you focus on is what you're going to experience. Now, when you look at entrepreneurs, we're different people. We have our own business. We don't abide by the rules of the world. We think out of the box. And the way a natural entrepreneur grows up is they are totally misunderstood. 87% of the population by quantum physics functions at a weakening consciousness. That means your parents don't understand you. School doesn't understand you. They want you to follow the rules. You have ADD. You're too creative. You don't fit and you don't like math. you have all these problems. And the reality is people that are here to make a difference, are here to change the world, are powerful people. So if we focus on our pain and we use an outside vehicle, man, you're going to become the worst addict. I've been in high-level entrepreneurial groups. Almost all of them have a history of addiction. But once they change their focus from their pain to their purpose, they don't want drugs anymore, and they create this massive difference in the world. You don't have any defects. I believe that's an illusion. Step 6. Step 7, humbly ask God to remove our shortcomings. Well, here we are. Step 5 is about forgiveness. Step 6 is about forgiveness. Step 7 is about forgiveness, but we don't have shortcomings. We have gifts. Gifts of a highly driven person is impatience, right? There's always another side to our gifts. It's understanding who we are and what our core values are. Step 8, make a list of who we've harmed and make amends. Step 8 is about forgiveness. So what are you doing? You're asking for forgiveness so you can let it go. Step 9, make direct amends to people when possible. Step 9 is about forgiveness. What's 10? It's about core values. Take a personal inventory and admit when we are wrong. So get this. Step 5, step 6, step 7, step 8, step 9, step 10 are all in one step in healed. Accepting forgiveness for yourself and others. Man, if you have 6 steps, half the steps are about releasing your past. It's about starting in your divinity and releasing your past. So we're 10 steps in on 12 steps. We're only 3 steps in on healed. Now, step 11, right? Improve the conscious contact with God through meditation and prayer. So once you release in healed, we come into living in now. So what's meditation and prayer do? It brings us into presence. So we use something that's constructive rather than what's in a bottle, rather than a line on a table, rather than that prescription bottle. So we replace it and we create conscious connection with God. That's who we were before our pain. Before we took our pain as an identity, is that child that comes in. Children are so loving before we teach them pain. Right? So what are we doing? We're getting back and we're replacing an old, more destructive habit with a habit of spirituality, conscious connection to God, which is who we really are. Step 12, have a spiritual awakening. Isn't that why we're here? And carry the message to others. In heal, that's E, establish purpose and mission, and that's D, deliver it to the world. Man, now why do they want you to help? See, now you have a spiritual awakening to what? Your purpose of why you're here. Because when you are on purpose, when you know you purpose, you never go back. Because purpose is greater than fear. Purpose gives you power. Purpose is why I was able to stop crystal meth like that. Let it go. Never look back again. I did that when I was 21 or 22 years old. Never look back. I just turned 60. Not one time did I go back to any of those things, nor will I ever. Because purpose, knowing your sole purpose, is your power. Now here's the 13th step that is not in the 12-step program. It is truth number 6, and it's the most important step. It's who are you? You are not an alcoholic. You are a child of God. You are a divinity living in humanity. You are not an addict. Addiction is what you did. It's not who you are. Now, why in 12 steps do they say you're an addict for life? Because it gives you certainty that if you maintain that identity, you will avoid the vehicle that you use. But it's a fear-based motivation. But you never were an alcoholic. It was a vehicle you used to bury your pain. You never were a drug addict. The reason I was able to quit methadone was because I never saw myself as an addict. That could have been, even though I was physiologically addicted, maybe that was a problem. But it's also the fact that I never took on that identity is why I was able to quit like that. Found my purpose, never identified with it, because what it is, alcohol, drug addiction, is what you did. It is not who you are. I had this friend. He has since passed. He was older than I am. He was 27 years dry, 27 years from an alcoholic. And he helped hundreds of people become sober. And what he used to tell me was, Fred, Dr. Fred, I'm an alcoholic. And I go, you're not an alcoholic, Greg. You've been dry for 27 years. Do you feel any urge to go back? No way, I'll never do it. Then you're not an alcoholic. He would say, yes, I am, because he was conditioned. And he said to me, if I feel and believe that I'm an alcoholic, then I will never go back. That's fear-based. He also died, I believe it was in his early 70s. That's not that old. But if you carry this fear that's driving everything in your life, it's going to make you sick. You are not an addict. Addiction is what you did. You're a child of God. You're a spirit having a human experience. You didn't know how to get past your humanity and get into your divinity, so you tried to cover up your pain. 12 steps is missing the 13th step. 13 steps are in 6 steps of healed. So I have one last story. There's a friend of mine. He was addicted to alcohol and drugs, had a multi-million-dollar business, loved his wife, but he was an addict, very self-destructive, destroyed his whole business, ended up getting divorced. But here's what happens. When you decide to change your own identity of who you believe you are, all the physical things in your life will change. He had far less. He was no longer a multimillionaire, but he had internal peace. And what did he end up doing? Helping addicts to get into rehab, to get out of addiction, and get to believe who they really are. That was his purpose. We have to go through what we have to go through so we can fulfill our purpose. If I didn't go through all that I went through, I wouldn't be here today talking to you with a whole healed system that can take 13 steps into 6 steps. So really, there are hundreds of millions of addicts all around the world. Please share this. Please share this. And just right now, go and share it on your timeline. And if you need help, there's 2 places you can go. iawesome.com, IAUSM.com. You Are More Powerful is on there. Go directly to You Are More Powerful, spell it out, YOUARE, morepowerful.com. And there's a whole healed system on video and workbook, and it's all there. Man, if you need a way, then just go there. And why am I telling you this? Because right now is the time where more people are turning to something outside than inside. And there's a quote by Dr. B.J. Palmer. His father developed chiropractic, and he brought it and expanded it. You never know how far-reaching something you think, say, or do today, right now when you share this, will affect the lives of millions tomorrow. Please share this all over your timelines and your groups now. All right, love you guys. Thank you so much. Let's all make a difference in the world together. Peace. Love you.